All right, if you're watching this video, that means you've practiced what we learned in the last video, the first class. You've got it down pretty well. You feel pretty comfortable. Of course, you don't have to master it. This takes a long time to master, but you have the idea and you're able to do it without constant instruction from me. Now you're ready for this class. In this class, we're going to involve the hands, but we're still not going to do a named posture. All right, that comes in the next class. But we will involve the hands, and we will involve something I will use all the time called hold the ball, but it's not a named posture. And you'll hear me say this if you continue to study with me. We will use this hold the ball for a lot of things. So before we get into our basic stance, let's discuss hold the ball. Now, when I say go into hold the ball, either the left hand or the right hand will be on the bottom and the other hand on top, and vice versa. Now, when we do grasp the sparrow's tail, when our left leg is forward, we're going to start with the left hand on the bottom. So when our left leg is forward, when we start, the left hand will be on the bottom. And when we switch sides to do the other side, the right side, which means the right leg is forward, the right hand will be on the bottom. This is a rule of thumb so you don't get confused. So you're not going, which one do I start with? All right? Left leg forward, left hand on the bottom. Right leg forward in our basic stance, our bow stance, right hand on the bottom. All right, so let's look at hold the ball. And let's do left hand on the bottom because we usually start with the left side. Now, we want to place our left hand with the palm absolutely facing up. And what I mean is it's not twisted, it's not somewhat facing up, it's facing all the way up. Look down at your palm and you want to bring it down below your navel to where your dantian is. That's where it is. And make sure it returns to this spot. Not up here, not up here, not slightly up here, all the way back down. It should feel low. All right? And we want to keep our hand, when we start, hold the ball, basically a fist's width away from the body. All right? So it's not touching and it's not way out here. All right? Now, look down at your palm. I want you to imagine there is a glass of water sitting on your palm. And the glass of water is full. And you don't want to spill any of the water. You don't want the glass to lean. That is how you hold your palm. Now you might notice, wow, I can't get my palm exactly like that. That's because your wrist and the tissue in the arm hasn't opened yet. And that's one of the things Taiji does. It opens the tissue so that you can comfortably, not strainingly, hold your hand in this position. And in Taiji, when the palm turns, it's called a palm change. And we want these palm changes to be smooth and comfortable. All right, so that's the lower hand. Now you want to take the right hand, and the right hand will be on top when we're starting on the left side. And you want it about the height of where your heart is. Same thing, fist width away from the body. Palm absolutely facing down. All right, not slightly turned. All right, absolutely facing down. Now, when we do this, check your elbows and your shoulders. Remember what I said. Relax the shoulders and elbows down. So this is no good. This is no good. These have to be relaxed down. And if you're having trouble with that, once again, it's the tissue in the shoulders and the arms. It's not open yet, all right? It will get open if you practice enough. Now notice how my elbow is pointing down. My hand posture looks rounded. Everything looks rounded, all right? So I don't want to see these sharp angles. This is tension, this is relaxation. Extend up at the same time. And this is hold the ball. And if we start on the right side, this is our hold the ball. Same thing, you're just switching which hand is on top. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to involve hold the ball. We won't be moving the hands yet. I just want you to get used to hold the ball because we use it as a transition point. And I want the hands involved now, but not moving yet. Because as soon as the hands start to move, it can get chaotic. Your brain is starting to rewire itself. It's got to look at a lot of stuff and it can be difficult. And it will be difficult, but we don't do things that are easy. Let's start with our left foot forward. And keeping our heel on the same line, we step back. Remember, we want shoulder width space between the feet. What do we turn on? The heel. Where do we point the toe? to the 45 degrees. Now, what do we do with the legs? Release and relax. Pay attention to the back leg. Don't straighten it to brace yourself. Make sure it's bent. Remember, we want the spine plumb. Extend up, tuck under. Make sure the front foot, looking at the center of the foot, the toe, the center toe, is pointing straight to 12 o'clock where I'm looking at this camera. Turn the waist without twisting the spine so that the belly button, so the waist is pointing at 12. Lastly, bring the hips forward. 80% in the front, 20% in the back. Make sure you check, all right? I see people not cheating, but not achieving this every time. Remember, if this lower body is off, Tai Chi's off. No Tai Chi, okay? So make sure that is correct. Now, we're gonna turn the waist and we're gonna shift into the back leg like I taught you before. And this is going to be our starting point. And this will be the starting point for when we start to do grasp the sparrow's tail. And which leg is forward? The left. So therefore, the left hand where? On the bottom, right hand on top, fists width away, elbows down, shoulders down, head up. And now we're simply going to turn while holding the ball. Just imagine holding a ball. Everything applies, like as everything that we learned before in the last class applies. You're simply turning the waist to shift the weight. Make sure the legs stay soft. Make sure you stay level. Make sure you keep the same speed. Make sure you're controlling from the waist. Make sure you're not pushing off the ground. Make sure your weight is going from one bubbling wells as you shift to the other. Make sure you keep your head up. Make sure your shoulders and elbows relax down. Make sure you're extending up from the top of the head, up from the back of the neck, up from the back. Make sure you're breathing. You might be concentrating a lot. Sometimes we tend to hold our breath. Make sure you're breathing. All right, and we're going to go back and forth. So we're doing the exact same thing we did in the last class, except now we're holding the ball. Now, I want you to pay attention to your hands. Make sure your fingers aren't clenching, meaning touching each other. At the same time, make sure they're not too far spread apart. They want to be relaxed. There's just a slight bit of space in between the fingers. There's no tension. You shouldn't see bones popping out of the back of your hands. They should be nice and soft. And we call these hands, when they're like this, fair lady's hands. Soft, relaxed, and beautiful. They shouldn't display any kind of tension. All right, continue. Make sure you're going to the poles of the movement, which means 80% from the beginning in the front foot. Turn without twisting the spine. Come into the back leg as best you can. Don't twist the spine. Don't let the knee get twisted. And there we are. Now, in the practice video, we'll be doing both sides. So get used to doing this. When you have a good feel for it, remember, it's the same thing as the last thing we learned, only we're holding the ball. When you get a feel for it, then go to the practice video where we'll do the same thing before, only we'll add this exercise, this posture part on. One last thing that I'm going to start mentioning now, because I gave you a lot of stuff in the beginning and I'm going to start giving a little bit more because maybe it's starting to soak in, is that when we turn, when we're in our bow stance, make sure as we turn, watch this knee. This knee is getting dragged in. You don't want to do that because you can hurt your knee. The knee wants to stay pointing in the same direction as the center of the foot. All right? This helps open the waist. If you let the knee come in, this hip closes and the waist won't get exercised. It won't open. Also, you could hurt your knees, like I said. Same thing when you come forward. Don't let the knee cave in. Knee back. Knee in the back also points towards the center. All right, so I want you to pay attention to this because we're moving now in a way that we could possibly twist our knees. So pay attention to this. If you have bad knees especially, this is one of the things you're probably doing to injure your knees, is letting it cave in or go out, twisting the knee. All right, and I'll start to mention this more as we go along. Please pay attention. Now, go ahead and practice that when you feel confident enough. go to the practice video. We'll practice together. When you feel confident with that, we'll move on to the next video where I will see you.